back-to-back Stanley Cup champions, 3 straight years in the Stanley Cup Finals, utter dominance to close out an opponent that itself had been in the past 2 finals. I'm not even sure what anyone can say about these Panthers that doesn't sound, justifiably over the top. Good morning to you. Good Wednesday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Penguins. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into football and or baseball, I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Pirates in the same place that you found this. Panthers 5, Oilers 1 last night in Sunrise, Florida, and that was it. Out came the white gloves. Out came the Conn Smythe Trophy for Sam Bennett. Out came the Stanley Cup for Alexander Barkov. And soon behind all of that, invariably we're going to come all of the praise, all of the compliments, continent-wide. So very much deserved. What a hockey team. What a collection. What a collective Bill Zito and Paul Maurice were able to put together down there. What a chemistry, what a culture that's been formed in large part by Barkov, but other leaders like Aaron Ekblad. What additions were made. I'm talking about late in the regular season. You're constantly hearing executives and coaches express concern about how, well, we really like what we have in the room right now, and we wouldn't want to have anything disturb that. And all the Panthers do is go out and get Brad Marchand and Seth Jones, both of them known for speaking their minds, both of them having come with some, let's just say, complex exits from Boston and Chicago, respectively. And it didn't matter. Everything was perfect. Everything fell just right. The draft picks panned out. The prospect acquisitions panned out. The free agents panned out. The trades, where do you even start with the trades that have been made down there? You can talk about getting Sam Reinhart for a song from the Sabres, to which he pumps in 4 of the 5 goals last night. You can talk about picking up Carter Verhaeghe, or you can just go skip ahead to the granddaddy of all trades in the past decade, maybe of this century, in the Panthers acquiring stealing Tkachuk from the Flames in exchange for Jonathan Huberdeau. But how do you account for that? How do you plan for that if you're another team that looks at the Panthers and says, oh man, that could be us. If you're the Penguins and you're thinking that, how do you go about it? How do you say, hey, everybody in this room, let's just be perfect. Let's do exactly everything right. And by the way, let's be so pristine at all of this that we can turn the NHL's worst market for the longest time into a place where even Taylor Swift would have a hard time getting tickets to get in. I'll tell you this, one of the things that I do in years where the Penguins don't win the cup, and, we're getting to the point now where it's been a little while, is I'll look at the team that ultimately raises the thing and ask, what is it that the Penguins could pick up? What lesson? Is it something stylistically? Is it a player type preference, an emphasis on positions? As an example, the Blues win the Cup. If memory serves, that was 2019. And you look at everything that they did, and there wasn't that much to take. You can say, all right, well, it sure helped them to be a bit bigger than most opponents. It sure helped them to have a prominent, sturdy figure up front in Ryan O'Reilly, who was just outstanding through that playoff. To have a guy pump some timely goals the way David Perron did. Or most people seem to do this, to just look at the active defensemen that they had and how they were getting a lot of offense from the back end. Okay, so there it was. Sermon served, lesson learned, I guess. Thing is, the Western Conference big and bad approach pretty much ended with the Blues. Next came COVID, which messed up everything. And next came, the reign of the Florida teams. So I guess if you look at what the Panthers have done, what the Lightning's done, maybe the one thing that could or should jump out is the one thing that probably won't have that much of a lasting impact when thinking about these Panthers, and that's elite, bulldog, play 'em all type of goaltending. If we're having a rational discussion right now about the best goaltenders in hockey, I mean, it's kind of hard to snub Connor Hellebuck in Winnipeg, given that he just won not only the Vezina Trophy, but also the Hart as the league's MVP. But you know and I know, and everyone up in Manitoba knows, that he's going to be judged ultimately by how he continues to do in the playoffs, whether it's to struggle like he did earlier in the first round or the way he righted himself later in the series loss to the Stars. But if you had one of those classic hypothetical questions along the lines of, if you needed one goaltender to win one game right now across the NHL, who would it be? Well, for the longest time, there was an automatic answer to that. It was Carey Price. Who is it now? It's not Hellebuck. It can't be Hellebuck. I don't think it's Jake Ottinger either. I think it's one of the two Russians. It's either going to be Andrei Vasilevsky or it's going to be Sergei Bobrovsky. Why? Been there, done that. That matters. It mattered when everybody was hypothetically picking Price. So, yeah, I'll choose that. I'll go real simple here. All the Penguins need to do is go get themselves a great young Russian. Hey, wait a second. What if they already have one of those? When we come back, J1Q. This episode is brought to you by Bet Online, your number one source for all your summer sports needs this season, from Major League Baseball, golf, NHL, NBA playoffs. Get the latest odds and lines, including all team matchups, player props, odds on just about everything that's out there. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. Bet Online, where the game starts. Today's J1Q comes from Jessica Lynn, who says, in all capital letters, Bones, our bones, the B to our HBK. There was a lot of feedback, as you might have expected, to the story that I broke last night on DK Pittsburgh Sports that, according to a source, Nick Bonino is going to be an assistant coach under Dan Muse. Now, to say that I had no clue this was coming would be an understatement. For one, Bonino's not ever coached. For another, he actually signed a playing contract in late April to remain for another year in Slovenia, playing for the team that's based in the capital city of Ljubljana. So what happened? Well, all I can do from this point onward in my reporting is speculate because the source didn't go any further. But it's a fact that Bonino played under Muse in both Nashville and New York. It's a fact, according to Bonino's own social media, that he once dressed up as Muse for Halloween. And yes, Bonino does have that level of sense of humor, not to mention pretty much the same amount of hair. And it's a fact that all playing careers do come to an end. Sometimes they just need a little bit of an extra push. As I've shared with you many, many times, there's a reason that most really good NHL players don't just magically become coaches. The main reason is the pay stinks, the hours are ridiculously long, and you've got to work your way back up through the minors all over again. Nobody wants any of that. Well, Bonino, he had his moments, obviously, with the Penguins. I don't know that anybody would describe him as some markedly above average NHL talent. But if he's given the option to just go right into the NHL and maybe, and again, I'm going to remind you here that I'm just speculating, maybe say he'd be responsible for coaching up the penalty kill. You might remember he was really, really, really good at that. He wasn't just the guy who scored all the big goals for the HPK line. But I'll throw in one other possibility. Muse wasn't an NHL player. Muse wasn't a minor league player. Now, everyone can try to downplay that, and I'm sure that'll continue at every tier of the Penguins. But I can tell some ugly tales from the time that I've been covering this team about how certain coaches or assistant coaches get treated if they've never played. So one of the things that Muse was going to need to do, and I got the impression that he realized this within something that he spoke at his press conference upon being introduced last week, is to get somebody or multiple somebodies on his staff who do meet that criteria. Well, now, here's Bones, who not only meets that criteria, but also comes with a specialty of penalty killing, and he was a championship teammate of 4 players in the current locker room. Those, of course, being Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin, Chris Letang, and Brian Rust. He pops in there with every box checked for credibility. And he, by the way, wouldn't be the first NHL player to become an NHL coach without ever having been a coach at some lower level. There are actually a lot of examples. One of the more prominent ones, the Penguins in recent years, being Sergei Gonchar. So, yeah, it's not official. I reported it based on a source, a really reliable and close and informed source, but just one source nonetheless. And it'll be fun. If it becomes official, it'll be more fun to see how the whole staff gets rounded out. I appreciate the semi-all caps question from you, Jess. I appreciate everybody who listens to Daily Shot of Penguins. We're going to do another one of these tomorrow.